You're listening to WASTOIDS.
Tucson's N8NOFACE is one of the most energetic forces to emerge from the Southwest experimental underground. Originally known as part of the chiptune duo Crimekills, N8 has since hit a streak of releases that blend synth pop, industrial, punk, and darkwave, equally indebted to groups like Screamers, Suicide, Ween, and Sleaford Mods. I'm Jason Woodbury, and for this episode of WASTOIDS With, I linked up with N8 to learn about how he tells the stories of the outlaws he grew up with in the desert on his new album Homicide. Plus, we get into him getting sober, talk about the influence of cyberpunk author William Gibson, and talk about the 20th anniversary of cult R&B artist Cody ChesnuTT's The Headphone masterpiece, which is a big influence on N8. We recorded this talk at the Secret Room at Valley Bar, and want to thank the crew there for accommodating us. All right, let's get into it. N8, thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me. Thanks so much. Thank you. So sick, man. Thank you.
We appreciate you taking the time. It means a lot to us.
It means a lot just to be interviewed by you guys.
Yeah. So I really dig the new record, Homicide.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
There's a lot of variety on it. You know, I mean, like you've got like your style, right? Like the kind of heavily distorted.
Yeah.
But there's variety on it too, and I wonder, did you grow up listening to all kinds of music?
Yeah, everything. I mean, I think my first introduction, I guess, music would really just be as a small kid, because I had no family members who played music or nothing. Would be through movies and stuff. So I think I saw like at 10 maybe, I saw the Gary Busey movie on Buddy Holly.
Okay,
yeah. As a kid, I just freaked out. So I had my mom run out and go buy me that tape, and then later in the years, my uncles would just be drinking beers, playing acoustic guitar, or my mom, one of my uncles and one of my mom's boyfriends, and so they would play like country or just anything you play around a fire on acoustic guitar. You know what I mean? And I love that. I love everything. You know, my saying is I can find 10% of every genre that exists and find something I dig. You know what I mean?
Sure.
More of other genres and less of others, but there's something I love in anything in music, I think.
Yeah. Growing up, did that kind of interest in music, I mean, did that set you apart from peers? When did you start getting into weirder stuff?
Oh, shoot. The weirder stuff probably... Maybe I went to the Conservatory of Recording Arts here in Phoenix.
In Phoenix? Yeah. Because you grew up in Tucson, right?
Yeah, born and raised in Tucson. And like I said, none of my people, like my immediate group of friends, we were just knuckleheads or all with the wrong dreams. No one did music. You know, none of my buddies did music. I was just a fan, so... About 18, I bought a SP1200 from the back of a Source magazine, because no music stores here would carry drum machines like that and stuff.
Right.
So I ordered a drum machine and was trying to make rap. And then when I went to the conservatory, immediately I found out I wasn't going to be no engineer. I was like, oh shit, this ain't for me, man. Going there, I met a lot of kids who were into different music, so they introduced me to different stuff, like bands like Ween, or, you know, just different like indie music. And again, I'm just being a fan of music. I loved it all, even though my heart at the time was really into rap or suicidal tendencies was where my heart was all through the teens, you know?
Yeah. So as you started to get into that stuff, something that I think is really interesting is like, nowadays, people can find music it's really easy, right? You're able to just type in any kind of thing. The rarest record can be yours in seconds. But it used to require a lot more effort, right?
Oh, yeah. Mine was I would go into stores and or go into like Walden Books and just the magazine section, just read everything.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I would go to the hip hop magazines first, but I just loved everything and wanted to know as much as I could. So I'd pick up Rolling Stone or I'd pick up a metal mag and just, skim through it and just, that's how I would find stuff. And then sometimes at the back of the page, they would do reviews of lesser known bands, the bands they weren't covering that didn't have the cover and stuff.
Sure.
So that's how I found music. There was no YouTube, or LimeWire came later, or MySpace, all that other shit. But for me, it was all through magazines in my early years as a kid with no internet.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
Living in Tucson, Arizona, where there's like, I think there was Chicago music, and maybe that's it. Like we had no other music stores.
Right. So originally it was beats and it was rap and stuff like that. That's definitely carried through. There's still a heavy electronic and beat focused element, right?
Yeah, right. Okay.
But something that I'm interested in is you've got a pretty minimal setup, right? Like you don't have like an insane studio that you're
Oh
working
no,
in.
my studio's like probably the width of this table. It's I'm literally in a closet. I've yet to ever record. Anything I've ever put out has always been made in my closet and sent to mastering. And I got homies who are real good engineers, work on big stuff, and they hate it. And I agree. I'm not knocking it. Like, I wish I could get into a studio, but I'm one of those people who's not going to let not being able to do something stop me. So it's just going to come out shitty, but I still got to do it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, that's a weird thing, right? Because I think people get so hung up on like, well, if I had this piece of gear, I would be able to do this or that. But sometimes like limitations.
I mean, I dig it. One of genre of music I like is minimal wave, and it's like it's just basic notes. What emotion can you get out using, not 48 tracks, 4 tracks or something. But yeah, my setup is a Korg. I chop up drums that I sample, and I just lay synth riffs over it. And then I'll pick up a bass or an acoustic guitar. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll just try to string together something. I always tell people I'm a songwriter, vocalist first, always have been.
Yeah.
I only make beats and made music kind of for me in this time because no one would make the weird shit I wanted. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's
rad. So but I want to talk a little bit about Tucson because so you had a record store, right? Like a record store / graffiti shop.
The first one was my brother's called Planet Z. And then the second one we named Rosie's after my mom. And then when he shut both those down, about a couple years later, I opened up All City in the same space he had one of his. Yeah.
That's rad. So what was the vibe like? And did you guys sell music of all genres?
No, it was all mainly hip hop shit. And I only did it. It was really like almost like a graffiti store first.
Yeah.
And we sold some records, and coming out of the conservatory, I was like, fuck it, let me set up my setup there, and then I would run the store all day and then shut it down and record kids for like $20 an hour on my, using Cubase, print them a CD, and just, you know what I mean? Kids who weren't ready to go to no big studio in Tucson yet, because again, the city's still developing in that area. So I would just record the hood kids just want to rap on someone else's instrumental or something, you know what I mean?
Right. And was that around the time that you were starting to make stuff yourself, or were you already well into that?
Like I said, I bought the beat machines, would make beats for rap. I really wanted to rap, and I'd write rhymes, but show nobody. I showed nobody for years. I think even when I went to the conservatory, when they introduced everybody in class, I told everyone I was a DJ because I was just always so shy. I didn't want to. I don't know why, I'm a nut. But that was a way I got introduced to a lot of other shit, is because I'm running the store, and a lot of graffiti kids who are coming in there to buy paint or streakers or whatever. Some of them guys, it was funny. We used to have a guy run our store when we would go run around in the streets, and he was a graffiti kid, and we'd always get feedback that he would just shit on everybody who came in the store because he hated rap. He liked punk music, and a lot of the graffiti kids liked punk.
Sure.
So they would come in, buy some streakers, complain about whatever I'm playing on the speakers, and then they would put me on to a bunch of other shit.
Yeah.
And when I got really into indie music and some like really underground stuff was at the store through graffiti writers.
Dig it. Stuff like, I mean, is that when like Suicide came into the picture? That sort of thing?
Suicide, Screamers. I mean, that's when I met I knew him when he was a kid. This kid, Tony Nicoletta, his mom was our high school teacher. She was a character witness at one of my brother's trials. Just loved us. And she was my high school teacher, and she would always bring her little 10-year-old son into class. Well, years later, this kid pops up at my store, and now he's grown and he's into music. He's making amazing beats. And so me and him just start talking, and we're like, yo, let's start a band. And that's when we started Crimekills. Which was a synth punk band where we modded Game Boys, and I would just scream over Game Boy stuff.
Yeah, what was the term Game Boy core? Or?
The music genre, it was called chiptune, which I hated because we weren't doing that shit. That's people who were getting Game Boys and making beats with them. Really how it came about is we heard Crystal Castles, and we heard them, and my boy was like, yo, they're sampling those sounds. I want to really make them. Right. So we got the Game Boys, modded them out, and we called it, I heard the phrase anarcho-punk, like based on around anarchy and stuff.
Sure.
Growing up where I came up and the friends I had, I wanted to tell the stories you might find in a rap song or a corrido or something where I wanted to tell stories of, being close to the border, Tucson shit. So I called it narco punk. I would just be telling stories of like what my brother and family and friends went through.
I think that something that's really interesting about your stuff is that, like people, that term narco-punk, like people have really latched on to that.
Yeah.
I think especially on like this new record, like you're talking about like violent stuff, you're talking about these dark stories, but I get the sense that it's not always literal, right? You're not always telling like autobiographical stories.
No. I mean, I'm a sweetheart. That's what I say.
That's the vibe I'm getting right now.
Yeah, I tell everybody that. That's my story. I want to always tell the kids that. Listen, man, my friends, like my best friend did 10 years in the feds. My brother, 4 years in state here, got pinched for bringing drugs into the prison. I always say, listen, I was around that shit, but I never did. I never took part in it. I was always the weirdo in the crew, and they accepted me for that. So that's why I always try to tell kids, you ain't got to go do that. When we were all at the club, I had a job, and I still got fly with them. I still was able to buy my own drink. You don't got to go that route to have fun. You know what I mean? Because then in the end, they paid all that prison time. I didn't have to, so they paid the price too. Right. And I got to skate alongside of them and didn't have to pay that price. Right. So my thing is always, that's why I say my boys are all the real no faces, because they're never going to tell their story. So I'm always telling somebody else's story.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's interesting. Another theme throughout the records, brevity. Like you're quick with the songs. The songs don't always last very long. Sometimes they're over before they get started.
Yeah, I know. I catch shit. I get a lot of shit for that.
I think that's cool though.
I mean, I dig it. I heard of that band Locust, where they had like. I heard they had like 20 songs on their album and it was like 18 minutes or something. So,
yeah.
I mean, I want to prove to people. I got another record that's have right now in the vault, and where I'm writing more verses. Because I used to do that. When I was trying to rap, it was all about shoving as many bars and lines as you can in a song. And I think as I got older, and I never really thought this. I always thought I'd hold down a job and so I was just doing it for love. And then I was kind of just like, okay, this is all I need to say on this track. I don't need 3 verses or the typical song structure. Sometimes I take like a poetry. Some poems are only 3 lines. I like to read poetry. Yeah. So sometimes I'm like, I'll just say these 3 lines that are powerful to me. I'll say them. I'll let the hook breathe. I'll say them again. It's just, I approach the song totally different, where I'm like, I don't need 16 bars, or I don't need, I want to prove to people I can do it. But just when I was making a lot of these records, it was just that, it's short and Plus, I was fucked up a lot of the time, so
yeah. Which is something that's changed a lot over years. Right?
Yeah. Right now I'm 1 year sober. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
That's a pretty heavy thing.
I mean, I don't think I had a weekend of no cocaine or no fucking wild shit probably since I was 17, man. That's just like water in the 90s in Tucson.
How does it feel now? Does it feel okay?
I dig it. Yeah. At first I was real scared. I won't lie, because I was scared, if I give this shit up, I won't be able to create, or I won't have the, be able to tap into some emotions or something. And it's totally opposite. I feel like I'm in my best creative space right now without drugs in my life.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, now I'm realizing if you sensitive person, or you can tap into those emotions whether you're living them or not, man. Like I said, sometimes songs, I'll see someone else going through a breakup and I'll write my homie's story of his breakup or divorce. It ain't me. I just try to tell their story and tap into what they're feeling like. So you can always get there, man.
In terms of like the reading and stuff, something that I was really stoked to see that you cite William Gibson as
he's one of my favorites. Yeah, I love cyberpunk, post-apocalyptic shit.
Well, you're on that video game, right?
With these guys.
With horror, yeah. And I checked that stuff out. William Gibson, for me, he's like one of those. I had a teacher in high school who he was my band teacher, and he hit me to Neuromancer.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
He let me borrow a copy of Neuromancer and a copy of Watchmen, the comic.
Okay, dope.
So my band teacher basically changed my life.
See, I love teachers like that. So dope, man.
People probably, if my parents knew, they'd be pissed at him.
But anyway,
teacher
putting you on.
But William Gibson, especially, that's an interesting element. Like, when did you get into?
It was Crimekills. When we were doing the Game Boy stuff, we tried to envision a world where we were like, okay, let's make some music of like a punk kid. Because in most futuristic movies, Matrix or something, all the future music is like heavy industry or goth or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're like, what is the pickpocket street guy doing futuristic drugs going to be listening to? I think it's still going to be grungy and lo-fi and just. Yeah. So and then that's our Game Boy thing. We were like, like, okay, if the world was all fucked up and post-apocalyptic, you can't travel bar to bar with the whole band because you're in survival mode. So your gear's probably going to be crazy minimal. We wanted to create Crimekills was us trying to create a band of criminal element, but like this band existed in 2077. You know what I mean? That was our idea, and that's why. So we would read those books and I would pull phrases. Council Cowboy is something from Neuromancer. Like I would pull phrases from like that world and try to implement, desert stories into them too.
So another writer who is cited in your bio, I think they used the phrase the Chicano Flannery O'Connor.
Yes.
Did you come up with that one?
No, and what's so crazy is I just did. For me, it's William Gibson or Cormac McCarthy. I love Westerns. Like I've grown up here, I'm a big Western fan.
Blood Meridian.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite books ever. So, but what's so crazy is I didn't even know who that was. The Flannery O'Connor. And just recently, I just did an interview where that person told me, he said the same thing, and he was like, no, you got to check out the work. And damn, now I forget one of the short stories he told me that I had to read, but that's someone I got to dig up because I don't know nothing about.
I will say,
her,
I'm a big fan of hers.
Oh, dope. Okay.
Wise Blood, the record.
Okay.
The record. Jesus.
The book.
The book.
Okay. Because is it short stories she writes?
She writes mostly. She wrote short stories.
Okay.
So a good man is hard to find.
I think that's the one you told me about. All right, I gotta peep that one.
But Wise Blood is one of her 2 novels, I believe.
Okay.
And,
all right.
For an old Catholic lady, she's about as brutal as it gets.
That's exactly what homie told me.
Cormac McCarthy borrows more than a little from her. Yeah.
Okay, dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no. Yeah, I mean, I should have looked up when it was. I don't know who wrote my bio. My manager probably got someone to do it, but yeah. I mean,
it's a cool description though.
Okay,
grabs the attention, and it's not wrong, right? Because like her whole thing was like this sort of like really dark world building where she tells these stories of just like grotesque human complication,
Wow,
and so I hear it. I can pick up on it. That's cool. That's cool. Something I wanted to ask you also, though, was that I was reading a really cool interview with you in Glide magazine where you cited that Cody Chestnut record, the Headphone masterpiece.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite records
That's
ever.
one of my favorites, too. And I
so
wondered,
dope, man.
do you remember how you got into that one?
I want to say he probably just popped up on my radar. I Look Good in Leather, I think it was.
It was all over MTV,
exactly.
too.
So I think I just heard that. And again, I was just always the guy who was into weird, different stuff. And I remember I went and picked it up at a store on Speedway. I forget what it was. But I remember even buying it, and the girl was, "Oh, this album's amazing. It's gonna change your life." And I was like, "All right, cool." And but yeah, I just love it, man. It's one of my favorite albums, and he's someone to me that, like, I always say that album was amazing, but when he started to get into the big studio, I started to feel like it kind of lost something.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a beautiful melody, dirty, is amazing. That same melody overproduced will now start to sound like a Disney fucking theme song.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because I love like catchy, pretty melodies, but I think they need to have an element of dirt to it.
Yeah.
Either the sound or the lyrics, you know, just dark or something. And so I think but still, he's always one of my favorites. Just that album's classic.
Yeah, I dig it. That record, it's almost like a R&B guided by voices record or something. Yeah.
So dope. Yes, that's dope. You said that.
That's rad.
You Guided by Voices was one of the bands that they turned me on to in the store, and I love them, man.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah.
And I mean, all that stuff, it's like you said, just in terms of like the sort of like looseness, the sort of like off the cuffness. I mean, Robert Pollard, in the time that we've been doing this interview, has probably put out 5 albums or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like that's a big thing.
Yeah.
But I do think that prolific creativity that you got going on is an interesting thing. Are you pretty much always recording? Do you record when you're on the road? Is that possible?
You know what? I just did I'm only because I'm real shy, so now this is the first time. Like now I'm on a bus with 5 other people.
Sure.
And I really need to get into a zone when I create. But yeah, I mean, when I had a job, it was come home from work, go straight to my closet and record until sometimes I would stop recording at a certain hour because if I get something going, I won't be able to go to sleep. I'll just keep doing it. So I would shut down because I got to go to work the next day. But I create probably every day, man. There's times I'll find a song and be like, "Oh, this is kind of funky, man. When did I make this? I forgot it." And I'll look at the date and it'll say like 5 days ago.
Right.
But I've already made so much other. And I'm not saying it's all good. Maybe some of it sounds the same, some of it. But it's like I don't know, when I had a job and guys would go home and spend hours in their garage working on their car, playing Call of Duty till 12 at night. Music's my Call of Duty. Like, I just go home and I have to fuck around, even if when I'm making's not good. So yeah, I'm just constant creating. But on the bus, I did a little remix for a band right now.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
One of the girls from the Coat Hangers gave me one of her songs, and so I mess with that. So that way, because that was my first time doing something like that. But that's what I did recently. Because I got to, man. Yeah, I get depressed if I don't create.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for you, it's like it's partially cathartic. It's partially like a mental health thing.
Exactly.
Almost,
I don't
right?
ever like. I know people say that. I don't want to be cliche, but it's like it really is for me. If I don't, then I start feeling, I don't know. And like I said, it's not for anybody else, because half the world. I mean, I got so much shit they don't hear or I don't put out. It just really is for me, man. Yeah. I just have to fucking mess around.
Well, congrats on all the killer stuff
Thank
lately.
you so much.
I'm so excited that more and more people seem to be getting turned on to what you're up to.
Yeah, it's blowing me away. I'm like, I never expected that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
thank you, man.
We'll wrap things up so you can get ready for your show.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us on WASTOIDS, man.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you, G. Thank you.
Thanks to N8NOFACE for joining us. If you like this chat, please subscribe to the WASTOIDS audio feed wherever you get podcasts. You can leave a rating and a review while you are at it. The feed is how you hear all of WASTOIDS shows, which include Click Vortex, the show I do with Sam Means, and The Spindle with Mark Masters and John Howard. That's our program devoted exclusively to 7-inch records. All the episodes are also available for you on WASTOIDS' YouTube channel. Check out wastoids.com, that's Wastoids, DOTCOM, over on YouTube, where you can also check out our weekly live performance video series, Out of Sight. Want to share your thoughts on chiptune, cyberpunk, or anything else? All you have to do is give us a call to get in touch, 1-877-WASTOIDS. Give us a call and we will play your calls on this show. WASTOIDS With features original music by Sam Means and is produced by me, Jason P. Woodbury. Recording and editing by George Santa Cruz and Gems. We'll be back with more WASTOIDS, so stay tuned.